Hello, I'm Mark Holmes. I'm the editorial director of VS Satellite. I'm in Amsterdam with the CEO of SES, Steve Collar. We've seen each other in Paris and Amsterdam this week. A lot of interesting conversations in Paris this week, whether it's reconfigurable satellites, LEO constellations. We had some good discussions on the Big Five panel that you were a part of. Any sort of learnings from your perspective this week in terms of what we learned in Paris?
I enjoyed Paris this year. I thought that there was some optimism around the industry. We certainly had plenty to talk about in terms of the announcements that we made with Microsoft and with the Azure platform, and also the launch for O3b in Paris. It feels like we're making tremendous progress with the next generation of our medium Earth orbit constellation. So I felt like it was a good place to be. I was only there from Sunday to Tuesday, so it was very, very focused, very, very concentrated. And yeah, I got a good sense for Paris this year.
One of the big talking points throughout the event, even past Tuesday, was the broadband constellations. And one of the comments that stuck with me was from Chris Johnson of Boeing, and when he asked which constellations, or how many constellations he thought would be successful. He mentioned mPOWER, he mentioned Iridium, and then he said, well, there's perhaps only room for one or two more. And bearing in mind we can name check maybe 4 or 5 other constellations. Do you agree with that assessment, that there's only been 1 or 2 more?
Well, look, I'm on record of being relatively skeptical about LEOs because I think it's really hard to deploy services from low Earth orbit, and that the economics of LEO are really challenging. And I think what we're starting to see is, that reality is coming home. I think a number of the constellations have been out looking for financing for 3, 4, 5 years, and that's not a good sign, right? At O3b, it probably took us a year, 18 months to get fully financed. But of course, what we were looking to do there was finance about $1 billion. Most of these constellations need $5 billion to be financed. And that requires that you have to be generating revenue so quickly and at such volumes in order to make that investment worthwhile. I question whether that can make sense. And I think that's why we're seeing the financing of these constellations being really, really difficult. So I kind of agree with Chris. I think we also tend to overestimate the impact that these new systems will have on our industry, certainly in the short term. And so LEOs have been talked about. I mean, I think we rolled out services with O3b in 2013. At that point, Worldview, which became OneWeb, had already been announced. LeoSat had been announced 2013. Here we are in 2019. Neither of them are close to being launched and to deliver services. I think we have the first broadband NGSO system in O3b. I think we'll have the second in O3b mPOWER. So we'll be into our second generation and delivering services and sort of learning from that experience, and have been for the last 6 years or so. And I'm excited by that. I think that the progress we're making, and integration with the cloud, the automation platform built on ONAP with Amdocs, the resource management in space, all of these things tie together, and sort of what's coming is some pretty interesting stuff around our customer terminal. So yeah, really, really happy with where we are. LEO, I think we have a way to go.
We're at IBC, so let's talk a little bit about video. And in Paris, Rudolf Bellmer probably spoke more enthusiastically about video than maybe some of the others on the panel. And we know SES is a very fast-growing networks business, and we've said perhaps a 50-50 split relatively soon in terms of the businesses. How do you see the overall video business now, not just for SES, but satellite players in general?
Look, I think we're a little more conservative, I think. What you've heard today at IBC is a lot of innovation that we're doing on the video side as well. Our Azure partnership extends to Cloud Playout. That's really exciting. We have SES 360, which is our kind of in-house orchestration platform that gives our customers control over their content. We have InSync, which is our kind of a new service that allows OTT to be timed with satellite playout. So a lot of value that we're bringing to our customers. Nevertheless, our customers are seeing tons of disruption, and the number of ways to consume video is sort of proliferating, and that definitely puts pressure on our traditional customers, being the DTH platforms and the broadcasters. And so the way we see that translating into our business is more and more demand for the really high value content, higher definition, sports rights and so on, but probably the thing that drove people to DTH platforms 5 years ago being the number of channels is not so important as it used to be, because a lot of those channels or a lot of that content is available OTT. So there's no question that our industry on the media side, the video side of our business is evolving, and I think with the innovation that we're bringing, we're very much kind of supporting our customers and delivering more and more value to those customers as they see the disruption in their markets.
Okay, and a final question. Again, another sort of observation from Paris. There was sort of, I think, a mix between optimism and pessimism in this industry. You had talk of oversupply, price squeezing in terms of capacity. You've also, as you've said yourself, there's question marks on some of these sort of new constellations, but there's also some optimism, particularly playing in sort of like new sort of IoT, 5G ecosystems going forward. Is the glass half full or half empty right now?
For me, it's always been half full. I think the whole thing about oversupply and price compression is always dependent on how you see it. I've always been of the view that ultimately, if we're going to make satellite an integral part of a much bigger ecosystem, cloud scale, you have to be able to deliver services at price points that make sense for your customer. So you can increase ARPUs, you can increase the amount of revenue that you're receiving, but the cost per megabit delivered has to come down. And so as long as you are able to deliver more and more bandwidth in the right way, there's a big productivity question about how do you get the most out of your system, which is where all of these innovations, cloud, ONAP, ARC, all of that is honed in. How do we deliver the most value in an economically sustainable way? So no, I think it's half full, I really do. And notwithstanding my skepticism around the business cases of LEO, I love the innovation. I love the fact that we're thinking about how do we leverage the superpower of satellite, which is reach, to connect the edge of the network with the same quality and the same cost as the center of the network. I think 5G, integrating into 5G, but not just that, thinking about big data and analytics and how we have some of the most valuable customers in the world. Having, for example, Azure extend across our network and allowing those workflows now to be honed, connected in Azure is massively powerful for our customers, but also massively powerful for cloud. So we've spoken about integration into a much broader ecosystem for a while, but now it's real, and that's really exciting.
Fantastic. Well, I wish you all the best for the rest of the year. This is Mark Holmes, the Editorial Director of Via Satellite.